Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady. Welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. Brian McFadden here. I am joined graciously by Jimmy Ray of Twitter's NFL Stats at NFL_stats. Jimmy, it's been a while since you and me have been on a podcast of any kind. We were running the power rankings on this very show during the season. How you doing, man?
Dude, the OGs are back.
That's right.
We just jumped right back into it. It feels like we never left. I'm excited to be with
Never
you.
Skip a beat.
Yeah,
Gotta
I appreciate the invite. Glad I could make it. Let's get it rolling, dude.
We picked the absolute crescent of lack of stuff going on in the NFL. June 28th, 2023. We did get dates on actual training camps, so we know that these guys will be reporting, I think, somewhere between the July 15th and the 21st between rookies and veterans. So we have stuff coming up, Jimmy, but in the meantime, there's always stuff to talk about in the NFL, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have some news. There's some news that broke today. I don't want to spoil it if you don't already know. It's huge news, but we'll wait it out. Yeah,
huge news.
I'm being sarcastic, kind of.
Let's get into it.
We'll get
Our
into it.
fearless producer, Anthony, is running a little behind. So I'm going to run a timer on my phone. Ghetto here.
We're as official as it gets over here.
But we're not going to, the show must go on, Jimmy. The show must go on.
Yeah, we got to count 30 minutes. We got to count 30 minutes, and we're not going to do that with our hands. So
we need an actual timer. Yeah, I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah,
crap.
absolutely.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now. The timer is running. Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick us off here. What's on your mind?
Okay. So very recently, we got the Patriots. They secured one wide receiver today. Actually, Davante Parker. You see that?
I saw they
it happened very
signed him to a
recently.
3-year extension. I want to say it's $33 million.
Yeah, 3-year, $33 million, $14 million guaranteed. So that locks up a wide receiver for the next few years. They have Juju, they have Tyquan Thornton, obviously. So a few kind of wide receiver trio. Not kind of the wide receiver group that you'd love to see in New England, but there's a lot of possibility they could improve that. They cleared $4 million cap hit. That's
the important part here.
Yeah,
is the cap that they cleared. What does that mean? What are they going to do with that cap, Jimmy?
DeAndre Hopkins is out there. That's the news. That's kind of the news around this time of the offseason is like, hey, we have Dalvin Cook now. We have Zeke Elliott. We have DeAndre Hopkins, all these veterans that we know will join a team at some point. It's just a matter of when. But they have time now to kind of wait it out. But they'd like to get there before training camp. And that's why the training camp dates are kind of important because those guys kind of want to be there. But we'll wait and see. So.
Yeah, that was my impression because former Dolphin, I'm a fan of Davante Parker.
Yeah.
Talented guy, but past his prime.
Yep.
He had a short prime, to be honest, but he did have a prime. So why extend someone like that who is by no means a high quality wide receiver, but it's because they wanted to clear cap space for this year to maybe sign a 1-year deal for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. That's, to me, why they did it. You're not worried about losing a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins or Davante Parker. You didn't need to extend him. I think they did this to clear away. I predicted on this show, Jimmy, that the Patriots would be the destination for Hopkins. I'm sticking to that.
That's a pretty solid guess. I mean, they need somebody to help out Mike Jones, and I think having Davante Parker as your number one wide receiver isn't necessarily a good sign heading into the season. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. That's not really a hot take.
Correct. No, it's not a hot take at all. They need some help there if they want to compete in a juggernaut of a division.
Yeah.
Here's what's on my mind. We're going to pivot a little bit here. So I was listening to the Athletic Football Show, which I only just recently started listening to. I listen to a ton of NFL podcasts. Surprise, surprise. But I hadn't had a chance to listen to the Athletic one before. I actually really like it. It's run by Robert Mays and Nate Tice, and they brought on Ben Solak from The Ringer.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he was talking about the value of different types of plays by a quarterback, whether it's a short pass, deep pass, scramble, you name it. What do you think the most valuable play? This is according to EPA, which is expected points added. Those who don't know, it takes into account the success of a play and the scenario. Is it third down? Is it fourth down? Is it first down? How valuable that play is to the overall points that you're going to add in any particular play and therefore any particular game. EPA, expected points added. The most valuable play that any quarterback can make. What do you think that play is, Jimmy?
Is it a check down? Is that what you're trying to get me at? No.
It is
play
not
action.
It is not an obvious one, but yes, it is not a check down.
RPO.
Nope.
Hmm.
I'll just reveal it. If you don't
just go ahead and reveal it.
So it's not a pass at all. It's a scramble.
It's a scramble. Okay, I had that in the back of my head, but not
QB scramble and close. The QB scramble is now the most valuable play a quarterback can do in any given game in the modern NFL.
So so if they successfully scramble on a consistent basis, you're saying that more points could get added in the overall long term of the. That's very interesting.
Yeah, some of the players who had very high, some of the individual quarterbacks with high EPAs on scrambles, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones.
Jeez, yeah.
These are guys. I mean, Rodgers maybe, but the other two guys don't necessarily come to top of mind as those are superstar quarterbacks running. They're not the Jalen Hurtses of the world or the Lamar Jacksons, but they were very valuable picking up. And we all know Mahomes is great at it. He did it in the Super Bowl, right? You need 3rd and 12, nobody's open. Mahomes will get you exactly 13 yards. He just has a way to do that.
And reach that ball right over the line, know where the first down marker is. It's the little things like that add kind of to that. I kind of like that stat a lot.
I did, and I wanted to transition it into a little bit broader discussion that's also going to hit home a little bit with the new quarterback in your hometown of Indy. So to me, this means mobile quarterbacks are now the standard. It used to be like pocket passer is the gold standard. Mike Vick came into the league. People really didn't know what to do with him. He still found some success. You had the Randall Cunninghams, the Warren Moons, Steve Young, even these quarterbacks who could scramble, but it was like an auxiliary part of their game. I think we're now seeing that mobile is the standard. If you're just a pocket quarterback, you're in the dust and you actually are not as valuable. No matter how good you are at being a pocket quarterback, you're not as valuable on a per play basis as a mobile quarterback. So that transitions into taking a quarterback like Anthony Richardson in the first round at pick number 4, a guy who has started one college season, 12, 13 games, something like that?
Yeah, 13 games, I believe.
Completion percentage just over 50%, but tested absolutely off the charts and ran a 4.4 140 or something insane at like 6'5", 240.
41-inch vertical, something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely explosive. So now, and by the way, I should mention that Anthony is in the background. I see him behind the scenes. Anthony, there's 8.5 minutes left. So if you want to, I'm queuing you up to put that timer ready.
8 minutes left or 8 minutes in?
To a halftime. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, no.
So I want to cue you up on this. How does that instill more confidence in you that you actually have what could be the new prototypical quarterback? No more just the 6'4" Peyton Manning. The prototypical Anthony Richardson for the future.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year with Matt Ryan, right? When he was in the pocket getting absolutely beat up. That's kind of an extreme example of like a pocket quarterback. But moving from like the old age quarterback that we saw in like the 2010s and stuff that were just slinging balls from the pocket, making it work there, and you didn't really have to scramble, like you said, with that EPA. I mean, Anthony Richardson, even if he messes up, he's going to be a lot more fun to watch, and he's gonna provide that. I mean, even if he doesn't get the accuracy down, he's going to provide that extra jump off the deep end. That's going to be beneficial no matter what. So while he might have some turnovers and stuff to start, he'll definitely be raw coming into the NFL. He'll have that instinct. He'll have those instinctual like reactions, like, hey, I need to scramble here, and he'll make plays like Cam Newton back in the day. He he was like the guy that kind of started this in some ways with his powerful running. I mean, I'm just from a Colts perspective, it's obviously exciting, and we've seen you don't have to be like a great mobile athletic guy, obviously, if you have like Kirk Cousins doing that. But you need to know how to scramble, and you need to know when to do it. So,
and on that point about knowing when to do it, that's one of the changes I think in the NFL is that coaches, front office, they see these same kind of metrics. They see these numbers that say, "Oh, scramble used to be like, don't scramble unless you have to. Don't scramble unless you've gone through 4 progressions and nothing's available, right?" And now it's like, actually, if your first read's not there and your second read's not there, please scramble. Take off.
Yeah.
Use those legs. Use that, what is now the most valuable play. I think that will serve better a guy like Anthony Richardson. So they're not asking him to do too much. Like, hey, AR, look at Pittman on the slant. If he's not, look at Alec Pierce on the go. If they're covered, dude, take off.
Yeah, it's going to be like the option B or C. It's not going to be like the far down, like go through all your options and then scramble. It's going to be like, hey, if that first or second option isn't available, we're going to just take off if you have some like a small opening, like make it happen, get a few yards.
And I think that means not only could the Colts see more success, it might give him more confidence. It'll make them more competitive. I don't know. I've been high on Anthony Richardson. We did a lot of pre-draft shows.
Yeah.
This just gets me more excited. And I didn't even get him in either of my dynasty leagues. He went before I had a pick 3 in one of them. Didn't matter. He went number 2 overall. But I'm really excited about to watch him in that Colts offense. Here's a question, Jimmy. Do you, as a Colts fan, do you think he'll be starting week 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those. There's a lot of quarterback battles, and we can get into that too if we want. But
it's 30 minutes, man. We can get into whatever we want.
Right. I mean, Anthony Richardson, I don't really think there's a quarterback battle there. And I think from the way they talked, I think he should be starting week 1. I wouldn't really get it if he wasn't. Like, why not? Get him the experience. That's what they said. Oh, okay.
Am I back?
You are back.
All right. It's weird. I pay for really good Wi-Fi, and this is the second time this has happened. I was on a non-legit football thing recently, where the same thing. It just the Wi-Fi like boots me off.
I couldn't even tell. I thought it was me for a second until I heard Anthony's wonderful music. Shout out my boy Anthony. I was like, I think we're good then. And then I saw you were still frozen. I was like, okay, so it's not me, but who knows? He might be gone again. I have no idea.
Hello, but, testing.
Oh, I hear him.
There I am. I don't know if you can see me.
I can see you.
Let's go to Armand in the chat with Richardson. The Colts will finish with a top 10 offense.
I mean, I could. In what way? Maybe. I mean, I could see it
overall. Top 10 offense. That's what Armand says.
Top 10 offense. I mean, the offensive line has to improve. I think that's one of the biggest components of it. And obviously, Anthony Richardson has to play well. But if the offensive line helps him out a lot, Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, you got some guys, some wideouts. Not the best wide receiver group, but Michael Pittman's emerging, and he could emerge even more. With
I like Josh Downs. I like Jelani Woods. Solid. I have a lot of.
There's a lot of athletes that could make things work, and that's what Chris Ballard wanted. We've seen him draft in the past with that RAC.
And by the way, that offensive line is actually the individual players on are very good. Obviously, you got Quentin Nelson. When he's at the top of his game, he's the best guard in the league. Ryan Kelly's still the center, right? Bernard Raymond actually played really well towards the end of the season after starting about as bad as you could start at left tackle.
Yeah.
Who's the Braden
Smith?
Yeah, Braden Smith. I mean, that's a solid offensive line. They were a top 5 offensive line the year before. They could get back to that, I think.
Yeah, they could. It's just a matter of if it'll happen because it's been pretty bad. but I don't think the quarterbacks have really helped either with the amount of fumbles. It's looked 10 times worse with Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan. So
yeah, so I mean,
so bad.
You got an entirely different breed of quarterback now. It should make it a lot more exciting. All right, we got about 2 minutes until halftime. Let's turn it back over. What else is on your mind, Jimmy?
We got a couple minutes.
Oh, by the way, I'll say anybody. I always say this, but anyone in the chat, feel free to toss questions to us.
Yeah, toss questions.
Happy to go on a tangent. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I did want to mention like the gambling suspensions because I mean, going off the Colts too, Isaiah Rodgers, he had a full year suspension, and they released today. I've been just going off the news basically that's been happening today, but a few more players might get suspended as well for the entire season. So
I didn't see any names yet. Did you see names? I only saw Rodgers.
Yeah, no names, but they said they're looking at. There'll be a few more probably this week, I guess. I don't know. It's coming to the tail end of this week, but. I don't know. Like there seems to be an emergence in that. I don't know if it's just this season. I mean, Ridley obviously had it last year, but some type of technology. Maybe they're catching them in different ways that they haven't before. They're kind of catching up to the to the new gambling sites and all that. But we saw James Williams, all the Lions guys, some other wide receivers and stuff get caught too. I didn't know. Kind of your thoughts on that? What's been changing in the league?
I think it's what you said. It's maybe they're more aware of the various ways prop bets. It's not just like, oh, I'm betting on the Colts to win or lose. It's okay, over under prop bets, and there's rules. Like Jameson Williams got caught because I think he was betting on college football, but he was
in the facility.
Not even. He was on the road in a team hotel.
Oh, really?
So a facility is also a hotel you're staying at on behalf of the team.
Right.
So they were on a road game.
Huh.
He bet in the hotel. Technically, that's a Lions facility at that moment, and that's why he got.
So it feels like it's on company time, basically.
Exactly. You're on the clock. Don't pull up DraftKings or Prize Picks or Underdog or any of those stuff.
That's tough. I mean,
Anthony, where's our halftime sound? I was ready. I cut off my words. There we go. Whistle's a little late there. He saved me with the hold music, so I won't hold it against him. Quickly go through halftime. Make sure to sign up for Legit Football daily newsletter at legitfootball.com. We have a cool top 10 fantasy breakouts thing that we're going to send out as a referral. If you go to Twitter and see an ad and you're a new subscriber, if you sign up through the Twitter ad, you'll get the top 10 breakouts, but we're going to send it to our current subscribers too. So watch out for that. And you'll see a few of those profiles on our social media soon. Jimmy, anything you want to plug at halftime before we jump back into the second half?
That sounds like a pretty sweet deal, honestly. Get those breakouts, sign up for Legit Football.
Yeah.
No, but follow at NFL_stats. We always have stats coming every day at least. It's obviously the tail end of the season, but I always try to come up with some stuff that people want to know, just whether it's relevant, whether I'm just wishing happy birthday to a player, showing his stats and stuff, just to get the topics rolling. So you're like, hey, show it to your friends or something. Just get the debate started. Get 30 minutes of football with your friends started, right? Just based off stats like that. That's all I try to do. So,
and you get retweeted, but I think JJ Watt retweeted you recently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he liked a tweet. It was kind of a somber tweet about Ryan Mallett, but he liked it with Ryan Mallett's first.
No, you did something about TJ Watt and JJ.
Oh, TJ Watt. Yeah, that happened too. And then JJ Watt again. Yeah, the other day. That JJ Watt, man. JJ Watt and I are just like
he's on you. Yeah, he's like guy. What is Jimmy tweeting today? That's
yeah. I mean, my middle initial is J, so JJ Ray. You know, JJ Ray, JJ Watt.
Yeah,
come on now.
Might as well be Soul Brothers.
Yeah, we're built the same too. It's fine.
That sounds like
20 sacks in the season too.
Oh yeah, and Madden one time, I'm sure. That sounds like a good opportunity for us to jump into the second half. Anthony, go ahead and get that timer ready. What were we talking about in the first?
We were talking about gambling.
Oh, gambling,
gambling suspensions and stuff. But we can move on if you'd like.
All right, I have one other topic, and it's Diontae Johnson.
Oh.
So I was actually talking to my co-founder Joe, and he asked me to rank a few different receivers, and Diontae Johnson was on there. I think it was Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, and Diontae Johnson. And I put Johnson at the bottom of that list. I don't know if you would agree with that. Kevin Walsh, we asked him to do the same thing. He also put Diontae Johnson at the bottom. And so I started digging it because somebody was trying to trade Diontae Johnson to Joe, and so I was trying to upsell him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, my instinct is that Diontae Johnson, I don't want a piece of him at all, but am I overlooking that? And so I knew that he scored no touchdowns last year. I knew that he set an NFL record for the most receptions without a touchdown. I know all that. So touchdown, yeah. I know, right? That's something to be proud of, I guess. But the point is, yes, from a fantasy perspective, it would seem touchdown regression is inevitable. Like he's not going to catch 80 balls and not score a touchdown again or whatever it was.
Right.
But then I dug into a little bit more, like to see, is it really just that or is there more to it? First, before I dive into stats, what are your thoughts on Diontae Johnson in general or from a fantasy perspective?
I mean, I think he's a solid player. I think last season could have been an outlier. I feel like I'm not as extreme as you are. I'm like, if I could buy low in fantasy, I'd probably do that just based off of the fact that, I mean, he had Kenny Pickett last year, who wasn't bad, but he gets that target share with the Steelers, I feel like. So that's beneficial. But the fact that he got that target share last year and he didn't get a single touchdown, that's obviously worrisome. But like putting him behind, who'd you say, Ridley? And
I'm going to go through individually, and I want you to say yes or no. Yes, you would take Diontae Johnson. No, you would take this player.
Is this just in fantasy?
ADP, just fantasy, in a draft.
Okay.
Calvin Ridley.
I'd take Diontae.
Okay. Already a difference. DJ Moore.
Yeah. Oh, geez. That's tough. They're both in
number one target
Diontae.
In Chicago. Really? You take Diontae Johnson over DJ Moore? Okay. Terry McLaurin.
I'll probably take Terry there.
There you go. Got to take Scary Terry.
Scary Terry.
Mike Evans.
Is this dynasty or just redraft?
Redraft. Best ball. Any single season.
I'll take Mike.
Okay. So yeah, you got him ranked kind of in the middle. So
yeah, they're really good questions though. All kind of close together. So
right, exactly. But I was curious. I always try to check my biases. I'm like, why do I feel so low on Diontae Johnson? Is it just because he didn't score any touchdowns? Let me dive into it a little bit more. Maybe I'll prove myself wrong. So then I got a little more. He was wide receiver 30 in PPR. It was much worse than standard. Does anybody ever still play standard? But anyway,
I don't know. I don't think
30th in PPR last year, 2022. But his targets went down 13% from 2021. So it's not just touchdowns. His actual targets went down. His receptions went down nearly 20% from 2021 to 2022. Before I get into the rest of these, Jimmy, what was the big difference? What is one big change? Diontae Johnson 2021 to Diontae Johnson 2022.
The quarterback.
Big Ben throwing him the ball a ton in 2021. He racks up. I think he was a top 15 wide receiver in 2021. He was certainly up there.
Yeah.
Drops all the way to wide receiver 30, but not just because of the touchdowns, but because he's getting targeted less with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky to start the year. Yards per target down almost a full yard, 0.87. That is a huge drop. He went from 6.87 to 6. So not only is he getting targeted less, and his receptions are way down 20%, but he is not making as much of those on a target per basis. Yards per catch only down slightly. What that tells me is that when he does actually catch the ball, he's still making something happen. So that tells me that it is quarterback related, that he's getting shorter targets. He's not getting targeted as much, and he's certainly not getting red zone targets. Wide receiver 16 was his best weekly finish all of 2021. So it's not like he had 1 week where he was like, yeah, that's old Diontae. No, that was the only time he scored better than wide receiver 28. So he was 28th or worse in every week except a single week he scored wide receiver 16. Throw in the emergence of George Pickens, who I'm personally really high on for year 2. They added Allen Robinson, who kind of plays a similar position to Diontae Johnson. But I think ultimately this comes down to Kenny Pickett as a quarterback versus Big Ben. Does any of that change your opinion on Diontae Johnson from what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, he's honestly got me questioning, like, Calvin Ridley's obviously has the better quarterback throwing him the ball. I'm just waiting to see what will come of Calvin Ridley as a whole, but I think he definitely has a chance to like overtake him. But yeah, that's obviously scary. I obviously knew that Kenny Pickett was a question mark in that aspect, but like thinking of those stats and stuff, it just makes you think kind of the other way a little bit once you kind of look a little deeper into stuff like that. Because when you were just telling me names, it was just like my instincts coming in.
Correct.
But when you actually like look into it and stuff, you want to play devil's advocate with yourself a lot of the time, especially in fantasy. Like that, you don't want to be like, oh, I just hate that name because of blah 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 or blah blah blah.
Right,
but,
burn me in the past or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can't always do that.
Well, that's exactly why I did this exercise, Jimmy, because I expected the opposite. I expected to find really, really good metrics and to tell myself, okay, Brian, you need to get back onto Diontae Johnson, especially as low as his value is. But now I'm kind of like, no, I think I was right here. Armand in the chat says he would take Ridley and Terry over Johnson, but would take Johnson over Moore and Evans. Armand, I'm curious to hear after what you heard all those stats if that changes.
Yeah.
And while you're thinking of that, let's talk about DJ Moore, because I'm curious. Both of you guys said you would take Diontae Johnson over DJ Moore. Jimmy, why does your instinct?
My instincts just tell me that Chicago is like more of a run first type offense, and I'm not sure if Fields can actually. I don't know. There's a lot of hands on there, like Moore. I mean, Mooney's still there, Claypool, but I just don't know how many targets he'll actually get.
See, I think, and some of this is training camp hype, sure, but I think that I know Justin Fields has never had a wide receiver like that in the NFL. He went from college where he was throwing to Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and he goes from that to, hey, all due respect to Darnell Mooney, but I think he's a solid wide receiver too, right?
Yeah,
Chase Claypool is off modeling in France right now. I don't know if you saw that, which is fine, but like clearly he's not bought into football. Cole Kmet was the biggest beneficiary of the passing game last year. So I think Justin Fields in a prove-it year with a much better cast around him, not just from weapons, but they've upgraded the offensive line, right? Drafting Darnell Wright, and their offensive line actually played decently well towards the end of last season. Their defense still has a lot of question marks, so I think they're going to let up a lot of points. I think DJ Moore is primed for a big season. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. I think he's going to be the first primary look for Fields on most passing downs. And I think that Moore has the talent to make the best of that. And I think that's just going to increase as the season goes on, because I think Fields is going to say, well, when I throw it to DJ Moore, good things happen. So I'm actually really high on Moore. I had Moore number one, maybe McLaurin. They're kind of almost exact for me. Question marks with the quarterback. I'm high on Sam Howell, but I mean, it's a lot of it's speculation.
Yeah.
I kind of think DJ Moore is going to have a really, really good fantasy season.
So when you look at that, are you thinking like Hurts, AJ Brown type season, like just going off in that aspect?
Or old school Aaron Rodgers to Davante, where he's just target him 12 times a game, because that's the only guy
I could see
that's really valuable. And once again, this isn't a Mooney knock. I think Mooney's best season was when Allen Robinson was on the other side. So I think Mooney will have a decent season too, but Mooney is not half as talented as DJ Moore. Mooney does not have the ceiling of DJ Moore, and DJ Moore has never had a really good quarterback. And you can say what you want about Justin Fields last season, but he was a very, very good passer in college. So he has that capability. I can see the two of them lighting it up. I want to get a stack. I'm hoping to get some best ball stacks with Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Maybe some redraft. My redraft, I might be targeting a Justin Fields, DJ Moore stack with a little Anthony Richardson for insurance later in like the 13th, 14th round.
Yeah, hey, I do have some DJ Moore stock in Dynasty, so I'm excited to hear that. I'll have to look into kind of what the running stats for the Bears and stuff were last year, and what kind of
it was mainly him. It's mainly Fields.
Running. It was just Fields the whole time. Yeah, and that's honestly probably why I think that, right? Because I mean, it was Fields, and it wasn't necessarily, maybe it wasn't because he was doing that like or is it the scheme or something? Maybe it's just because he was forced to do that.
Most of them were scrambles, not designed runs.
Like 70-yard, what was it, like a 70-yard scramble?
He was
I remember.
Insane.
I mean, he
some
was
of
just
those
going off.
He went through that like 4-game stretch before he got injured, where he was like God mode.
So maybe maybe that's why the bias comes into play. But I do think I think Justin Fields, with DJ Moore, I want to see an extra step out of him, and then the two of them combined, I could definitely see like the Jalen Hurts, or I mean Davante Adams. That's definitely a big leap, but DJ Moore has the talent, and if Justin Fields can be like the quarterback that DJ Moore's been praying for, I'm sure for the past like 5 years or something, then I think something could work out. However
Moore
long
has been
there.
thrown to by Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Baker Mayfield.
Don't sleep on PJ. Sorry.
Who was his first? No, I know. I don't want to slander PJ too much. Who was his?
He was with Cam Newton for a little bit too.
Cam. He got a little bit of Cam, but like late, kind of like post good Cam.
Yeah, right.
Especially from a passing standpoint. So I don't know. I just, and then you see, and I know it's preseason hype, but I just see a lot of it. So what I try to do with preseason hype, Jimmy, and you let me know if you're different, is I try to see, first of all, I ignore what the coaches say. I listen to the beat reporters, and if I see enough beat reporters from different platforms saying the same thing, and I keep seeing specifically that the Fields Moore connection is legit, and he's like hyper targeting him in practice, and it's working. I don't know. I'm buying that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to believe any of the coaches because I know they're steering one way. They don't want to say too much or not enough. I mean, they're running a team. They're not running the media. They're not wanting to give everything to the media and be as transparent as possible, which we would love. But that wouldn't make for good coaching as a whole. So I mean, it just wouldn't make sense. But yeah, I believe you in the fact. Honestly, I don't trust anything, but I think if there was a lot of people saying the similar things, I think that would make more sense. So
also on a similar note, because we talked about McLaurin and we've talked about Howell, and here I am talking about the Commanders again. I'm really starting to like this thing. The one game last year that Howell played, he hyper targeted McLaurin. It's only a 1 game sample. I'm going to bring up the stats real quick. So feel free to fill the silence for the last, minute while I'm looking this up.
I have Broncos on my topics list.
Go ahead.
Broncos question mark.
Broncos question mark.
Because I think
expand upon it.
Well, I think we've been every time I've done like a show with Kevin or Anthony or Adrian or anybody, I'm like, the Broncos have such a wide range of outcomes. I just feel like I have a feeling that they're gonna bump it up this year in terms of production. I think Sean Payton. I think my bet is that the Broncos will do a lot better than they did. I don't know how much better, but I mean they
finished with 4 wins. I mean there's
they
not
can't
much room
do
to
worse.
go down.
Right?
Yeah.
They can't do worse. So, and especially with that defense and the marks they were missing, they could have had so many more wins if they just scored like 20 points a game. They had like 16 points a game. So. I mean, in terms of like Judy and Sutton, I don't know if they'll be back after this year, but it's kind of a make or break year for a lot of those guys. I think that's one of the big like headlines as we get into this season, but I think everybody knows that. So
I mean, it comes down to one thing.
Russell.
That's all. That's what it comes down to. Just like the Browns come down to Deshaun Watson, because these are both teams that are really, really talented rosters. If we see from either of those quarterbacks what we saw last year, it's going to be a disaster again.
Yeah.
If they're able to, and I'm actually with you. I'm not saying they're going to compete for the FC West, but I think Peyton will stabilize Russ enough and get him to work within structure enough and the system and the offensive play calling that he's great at. Oh, we got a 1-minute alarm. I like it.
I didn't like that. It's too late for that. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, exactly. Poor Jimmy. It's almost like midnight there. He's like, dude, don't do that to me. But I think Peyton will be good enough at play calling and putting Russ into good situations that it will be better than it was last year. Is it going to be like compete for the division title? Probably not. But I think they could. I certainly think they'll be better than the Raiders. I mean, that's not a hot take, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the hype last year for the Broncos, and now it's finally died down. So we need to remember that when we were hype on it, like a bunch of hype on a team, and like, yeah, the Broncos could be better than the Chiefs, and then last year happened, and the Chiefs are Super Bowl winners, and the Broncos were not so much Super Bowl winners. So just think of that when you're going into this season. Something's got to give for some of these teams.
So Terry McLaurin was not high. I don't have target numbers here. 3 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. So had a good game, and 74 yards on only 3 catches. So Howell was throwing the ball down the field. The last thing I'll mention on that Broncos thing is I mentioned the Raiders. I think the Raiders could end up being one of the worst teams in the entire NFL. We won't go into that now. Save that for a future show.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs decides not to play too.
Oh, that's going to make it even worse. I mean, even if Josh Jacobs does come back. But all right, thank you, Jimmy, for returning to 30 minutes of football.
This feels
Always
so
a pleasure.
short now. Yeah, like
that's what I mean. Like you're used to the hour and a half. Legit football
right.
pods. No, we are done.
Yeah.
It is almost midnight where you are. I don't want to keep you up too late. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I saw Oscar. I saw Armand, our number one fans, always hanging out. Thanks for Anthony for popping in, even though he was a few minutes late. Came in,
my guy,
stepped up when he needed to. Make sure to tune in for the next Legit Football Pod this Friday. I don't know if Jimmy, you're going to be on, or is it Adrian?
I don't think so. No.
All right. So Adrian and Kevin, I'll be back next Wednesday. We will, even though it's the day after the 4th, we will have a Legit Football. 30 minutes of football next Wednesday. So stay tuned. 11 Eastern,
hungover Brian,
8 Pacific, or have it's 4th. I'll have a hot dog and
Okay, yeah. Hungover from fireworks and hot dogs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, I haven't lost any limbs. This has been 30 minutes of football. Thanks you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Why do you hate Tyreek Hill? Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady.